What's going on, everyone? Alex Schlinsky here for the Anti-Hustlers Weekly Show. Welcome to our special Influencing Decisions Masterclass. Today, we're going to be talking about the most important lever that you can learn as an entrepreneur, not just an agency owner, business coach, or anything like that, actually as an entrepreneur, which is how to influence decisions, which is going to be a key element to your success in growing your sales, actually making more money, and ultimately more impact as well. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Brian Downard. How are you doing today, buddy?
Oh, live the dream.
Living the dream. Guys, we are just days away from the end of 2024, from the Christmas
No.
day. We all hope that you've had a wonderful season, and we hope to close it out very strong for you here in the next two shows we have before the end of the year, with this one coming at you all about influencing decisions. So let's just start off here with a little bit of prerequisite knowledge and understanding. We are not going to go through the entirety of the one called close framework. We're not going to be breaking down every single objection you've ever heard before. We're going to be talking about just three specific levers that you need to learn in order to successfully close more deals and having a better sales rate. Now, this isn't just sales for marketing and everything like that. Obviously, it's going to be, but it's also for every type of negotiation you have in every walk of life. That's not just a financial transaction. So we're going to be talking about those today because we love talking about sales, and I know you guys love hearing it. We're also here at the end to answer any questions because we do this show every single Thursday at 3:15 p.m. Eastern in our Facebook group and on our replays. If you're watching on replay, you can just comment below. If you're here with us live, we're going to answer questions at the end of the show. Let's rock and roll.
Cool.
Brian, first and foremost, why is influencing decisions even important?
Um, sure. I like the question. I was going to open with a joke that I think step one is you just lie, right? You just lie through your teeth and just
That's
make it
right.
all up. That's
That was
that's the end of the show
that was
today,
actually the
guys. You
whole
just
thing. That was
lie.
the
I'm
entire
just kidding. Of course not. That's not the answer. Yeah, obviously why influencing people is important. We're running businesses, we're entrepreneurs. We need to know how to effectively sell what our offers are, our products, to get people who we can support and serve on board and do it. And you've heard us say, if you've been on this show for any amount of time, or seen us before, like, do it in a way that actually impacts and influences them, right? You want to use this power for good. With great power comes great responsibility. I'm going to steal that quote from Alex, who stole it from Spider-Man because he used it yesterday and I love it. But it's true, right? When you are in a position of trust with someone, an expert who can help grow their business, you need to be able to influence their decision. And that can be to either work with you or not work with you. And it's really going to depend on the situation, right? Just because someone gives you their time to get on a sales call doesn't mean you're just going to put the offer out there in front of them. This is what I used to do. If someone agreed to a sales call with me, I'd be like, okay, sit down, shut up, and watch me talk about my cool stuff for about an hour. It doesn't work. You need to actually show genuine interest in them, and actually just care, right? And this is important because if you want to make money, you need to know how to influence people. And if you want to make impact on the people you serve and keep your clients, you need to know how to influence people. And not just on the salesmanship side, but also the expectation setting and client success side, and how to retain clients and make sure they aren't making short-sighted decisions and churning out after a month or two because they had wrong expectations. But in a nutshell, that's why I think it's important to influence people and just your day-to-day life, right? You want to be able to use this in a positive way. But Alex, I'm curious what's your take on it.
Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, the reality is people suck at decision making. Let's just lay it out there bluntly, right?
Yes.
That's why everyone understands the concept in the frame of like, hey, babe, what do you want to do for dinner tonight? I don't know. What do you want to do? Right? We have to make so many conscious and unconscious decisions every single day, not just in business, but in life, especially so as life becomes more convoluted, as you have partners in your life, as you have children in your life, as you have more responsibilities in your life, the more opportunities you have in your life, the more decisions you have, the harder it is to make said decisions, right? The actual most common decision is indecision. What is indecision? Indecision is procrastination of a decision, a push off of a
No
decision.
decision.
That's why the reality is what we end up seeing very often in sales conversations is the most common thing on a sales call is a maybe. Every call can end as a yes, I want to work with you, a no, I don't want to work with you, or a maybe. Maybe is veiled as anything like, let me think about it. Let me talk to my partner. Let's start after the holidays. I just need to talk to five other agencies, whatever it may specifically be. Maybe is the most common response at the end of a sales conversation because making an actual decision is very challenging. Let's just talk a little bit about decision making in general. Okay. Decision making comes from clarity, okay, on both the problem, the result, and having urgency for that. Now, here's the thing, similar to supply and demand, right? You can't just necessarily create a demand, right? You can only supply said demand. In a very similar way, you can't really create urgency. Now, don't try to argue semantically about, well, I can create urgency. don't worry about that. Just hear the concept so you understand what we're saying. If you want to leverage it as create urgency, that's fine. But here's this concept that's really important regarding urgency, okay? You can leverage urgency by helping the prospect identify the amount of urgency they have. The more urgent something is, the more important it's going to be to make the decision. So for example, if your arm breaks and you go to the hospital, and you're waiting for the doctor to come in, you're not going to be asking about, well, how much does it cost first? How long do I have to wait until you're going to get it fixed right away because the urgency level is extremely high. If your toilet is overflowing and it's exploding all over your house and you call a plumber that's coming in for an emergency, you're not really going to be arguing about the minutia of the pricing. You just need them to fix your toilet right away because the urgency is very high. Now, here's another example that will really be important to understand in terms of making decisions. Just because something inherently should be very urgent does not mean people are urgent on their decision making. Let's take, for example, someone that is unfortunately obese, right? Now, inherently, everyone would understand that being obese is very dangerous. It's dangerous to their health, to their mental health, and ultimately to the people that care about them because of said dangers. But until there's more clarity on the problem and potential solution, it's hard to make a decision, even though there's obvious levels of urgency. But let's use an example now. If you go to the doctor and the doctor explains very clearly the problems that will happen if you maintain this lifestyle, right? You're going to be pre-diabetic. You're not going to be able to spend more time with your kids. You could potentially die earlier. Your heart can get enlarged and you have to have surgery. It creates these type of complications, etc. They're laying out all the problems, right? And then we talk about the very clear solutions, whether it's a certain type of diet or workout, whether it's a liposuction or procedure, whatever it may be, right? The more clarity that is provided on a problem and a solution to this person that has this issue, right? Even though we all think logically they should be urgent, the stronger chance that they will have urgency to decide, to make the decision, to move forward. Because even in scenarios where it seems so incredibly obvious that they should decide to move forward with this decision, we still procrastinate. And it's because we are not creating enough urgency. And that is the first important lever in this conversation today. To influence decisions, you must understand the baseline of how people make decisions, which is by understanding the problem, understanding solution, and having the urgency to make a decision. Otherwise, we will procrastinate forever. Brian, if you want to add anything, feel free. Just that's going to be the first lever for today.
Yeah, and I would say how you understand the problem in the most effective way is to start by being a good listener, right? So many of us are so excited about the thing that we're selling. That's all we're focused on. It's all that matters to us. And
Right.
so when a client tells us on a sales call, like, I'm just doing this and that and this, we just kind of breeze over that and just get right to our thing. We didn't actually listen. You're not going to influence them because they don't believe that you actually care or have their best interest at heart. The book Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Yep.
That was one of the core takeaways where it's like you have to show a genuine interest in other people and be a good listener. And that is something that's really hard to fake. It's not something that you can't learn as a skill. But if you go into all of your sales calls with this only what's in it for me mindset, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot. You have to come from their perspective of what's in it for them, because that's frankly what they care about and what their reasons for making decisions are, that you need to anchor the final decision that they make against their reasons. You need to be a good listener. You need to start by actually giving a shit, which is very hard to do nowadays in a world of a million distractions. So do your best to be very analog when you're on these sales calls, focus in on one thing at a time and be a good listener. I think it's going to make a big difference. And something else I'll add, anyone with young kids who have had young kids before who now are older will understand this, is this illusion of choice. A lot of times we don't really want to decide, especially in an area where we're not an expert in. We like to at least have the illusion of choice. So with my daughter, when she doesn't want to have her diaper changed, I'm like, Brooke, do you want to have your diaper changed over here, or do you want to have it on the sofa or on the floor? And we're still going to get the same outcome, but at least I'm giving her this illusion of choice to get to the outcome. And I know it's a silly example, but it's true. A lot of times you want to have to try to give your prospects and leads this illusion of choice, but really an intentional directing them to what is best for them and giving them confidence in that decision because you listened to what their reasons are for why they want it.
And it's a perfect segue to the second lever, which is the tell to sell method, which is exactly what Brian is talking about. telling your prospects by guiding decisions. One of the main problems that we see when we're auditing calls from entrepreneurs that are selling SaaS products, marketing products, coaching products, or anything in between, we often find that not only are they not listening, as Brian is stating, because they're just so eager to get to their portion of the call. Like, let me tell you how I can help you, even though I don't really know what your problem is, right? The other obstacle that we constantly
TLC.
seeing, right, is that there's not enough assertion at the end of the call related to the confidence of your ability to help them overcome the problem and achieve the solution. And so what ends up happening is kind of a half-hearted way of being like, well, what do you think? Like, do you want it, etc., which always is going to lead to a prospect to say maybe, veiled as, let me think about it, send me a proposal, I'm talking to other agencies, because there's no actual guiding of a decision. Your responsibility as a salesperson is to guide decisions. Listen to the words I said. It's not guiding decisions. This is so frustrating. It's happened 2 weeks in a row. Man,
All
hold on
good.
one sec, guys. Only on this call too, Brian. It never dies. Oh,
It knows. It's like, oh, you want to record a good quality video? Well,
such a bummer.
joke's on you.
2 weeks in a row. I don't know what to do, honestly.
You're good.
So such a bummer.
You can switch over to the other camera if it's too much of an issue. Welcome back.
Did it work?
Ooh, I like the
Sorry,
blur.
guys. Let me restate. So 3, 2, 1. So when we're talking about the process of guiding decisions, right, what ends up happening a lot of the times is people are just spreading awareness, right? We're not actually helping someone guide a decision to say yes or no. We're just saying, what do you think? And again, when you say, what do you think? It's going to be a maybe. But it's really important they understand that we're not saying to guide decisions to yes. That's what manipulation is. That's what snake oil salesmen do. It's not always guiding a decision to yes. We're not guiding a square peg into a round hole by forcing it in and manipulating them through understanding sales psychology. That's not a benefit to anyone. You don't want to be sold that way. The prospect doesn't want to be sold that way. And you're guaranteeing 100% of the time to have buyer's remorse and a client that's not going to
Yeah.
be happy because
You'll create nightmare clients even if you can
100%.
force it.
The goal is to guide decisions, right? Whatever is the best decision for them, because ultimately indecision is the worst decision. And this concept is important to understand. Indecision, meaning not deciding, right, guarantees that the prospect stays in the exact same spot they're in, right? So, for example, in that very severe scenario of an obese person deciding not to diet or work out, right? They either stay in the same spot or worse, they get worse, either because in a marketplace, the competition rises or because the problems fester and become worse, right? So inherently, an indecision is actually worse than yes or no, because no inherently means they'll probably ideally find a different solution, or yes means they're going to try your solution. Indecision just means I can't decide. I'm going to stay on the fence. And that's the worst possible place to be. And you need to know this as a salesperson to help them make that decision through leveraging urgency, as we noted, and then the tell to sell method. Now, in this tell to sell method that we're talking about is at the end of the call, when you have enough data to say, this is your problem, this is the solution that I have, this is why you haven't been able to get where you are now to where you want to be. I'm very confident that my solution will get you there, as long as you do the things that are required, which are these things, and as long as you understand that the actual most important thing here is to decide to work with us, right? It's not a challenging thing to do. If you are worried about becoming assertive or you're worried about being too aggressive, that means you're not speaking from your heart. If you truly believe in your product, if you truly believe in what you do, it's your duty to tell that person. Now, it's important that you listen to what Brian had said, because if you don't listen to your prospect and you're just selling based off of an avatar, just like, oh, well, I already know doctors, I already know attorneys, I already know, small business professionals. When you do that, you remove it from being Zach or Lacey or Ashley or Kevin. These are people. They're not just doctors or attorneys. Yes, they probably have similar problems. Brian and I yesterday are working on our funnel for POD, for marketing, right? And we're getting recommendations to do more market research. And Brian and I want to sit on the high horse of like, we already know it. We know the avatar. We've done it enough, right? But when we do that, what we're removing from our capabilities is maybe there's new information that's important. Maybe we're not considering Ashley's point of view or Kevin's point of view rather than just the avatar's point of view. When you're talking to a one-to-one person in a sales conversation, you're not just talking to the avatar. You're talking to the person. And the more that you listen to them and understand their problems and understand the solutions that they're looking for and know that you can solve that, that gives you the confidence to tell them at the end of the call, to tell them that this is the right fit, to tell them to make this investment because that's why I got on the call. And it will never come off aggressive or assertive because it's coming from the heart. And when you were worried about someone coming off as aggressive or assertive, you're losing sight of what you have control over. So I'm going to say some controversial stuff here. Hear it out. Are you ready? I'm sure everyone watching this video ever has heard of Donald Trump. I'm certain of it, right? Whether you are a big fan or you absolutely despise him, let's talk about some facts here of perception. It's really important, okay? If that person has a presentation, like a speech, okay, unedited, not edited, every single person sees the exact same 10-minute speech. There's going to be a group of people that will say, that was amazing and fantastic, and I loved it. And then there's also going to be a group of people that are going to say, that was horrible, and I hated it, and he's the worst. How does that happen? Not just from preconceived notions, just only from that 10-minute speech. How does that happen? And that's because everyone perceives things differently. Another much simpler, less aggressive way of expressing it is if I watch a movie and Brian watches a movie, I might really like it and Brian might really not like it.
We shouldn't get into that. We don't have the same taste in movies.
Brian has the worst taste in movies. But other than that, right? Perception is something we don't control, right? The director who made this movie, Christopher Nolan, that makes the movie, right? Oppenheimer, he's not able to actually control the perception of everyone. Ideally, most people like it. Does every single person like it? No. So in the same vein, when you are worried about, oh, I'm going to come off aggressive in my tell to sell method, you don't have that control. You don't control how they perceive it. You only have control from where it's coming from your heart, the tonality that you can speak it with confidence and transparency and authenticity. That's the best that you can do. And when you understand this concept, it will make you better. Here's the last comment on it, and then we'll kick it over to Brian if he wants to add anything.
Yeah, plenty.
This is really important. The more that you are worried about how it's being said, the more in your head you are about, am I saying it right? Is the tonality correct? Is the exact script correct, etc.? Because you're trying to nail the tell to sell, the more you actually are seeding doubt for yourself. Because you're like, am I coming off as aggressive and arrogant, or am I coming off as confident and with care? That's what's happening in your brain. You're like fighting. When you do that, inherently, you are hedging. You're hedging. You're not giving 100% of yourself because you're doubting yourself. So you're not being natural, you're hedging. And what happens when you're not natural and hedging? Well, inherently, the perception is not going to come off the way you were hoping for. Inherently, they're going to smell like blood in the water, like a shark. It sounds kind of doubtful. Kind of sounds kind of weird. Sounds like that's not supernatural for you. The more natural, authentic, confident, and transparent you are, the easier it is to tell to sell. That's the model. Brian, feel free to add anything.
Yeah, and confidence is earned by doing it, right? Like you have to be okay if you're towards the beginning of your journey. I know a number of people in our community are. You have to know that sucking is a prerequisite to getting better. You have to understand, like most people start in ignorance that they suck and they never make any improvements. You have to know, hey, this is something I need to get better at, and you need to be okay at sucking at that thing for a while in order to reach that point of actually getting better at this. We talked about this a little bit in a previous episode. I'm not going to go too far down that rabbit hole, but um, to add also to what you were saying earlier, Alex, of not selling to an individual, but selling to an avatar, or worse, selling based on a guarantee or a really sexy offer. Because let's be blunt, as much as I love a lot of what Alex Hormozy is putting out there, he's created this Hormozy effect of offers where everyone is out guaranteeing themselves into a box where
Race to the bottom.
It's a race to the bottom, and it's commoditizing marketing services. And when you are selling based on the strength of your guarantee or the strength of your offer, or to an avatar and not to an individual, you put yourself in the same box as just a lead provider, versus what we coach on is being a strategy partner with your client. How can you actually understand the intricacies of the challenge they're facing? And not that you're going to go way out of scope on every single project you do, but how do you help them as an individual realize what they want to achieve through the lens of what you are selling? And if you're just selling based on, because we guarantee if we don't do blah, 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 you just put yourself back in that box of only selling to based on that and carrying the weight of your offer versus what they actually want and attaching it to the outcomes you can provide. And when you can sell based on desired states and problems that your clients have, it's going to be a lot stronger than resting on a guarantee.
And to take that to an extreme, like with an example in the real world, like Brian, imagine going to a gym and they're like, we promise 6-pack abs in 8 weeks. And it's like, how though? Like, how
Yeah.
do you make that guarantee? And then obviously you pay for it. And it's like, well, here's every stipulation. You have to come to every single class. You have to
Yeah.
do it this exact way. You have to report it. It has to be, it would just be so off base and so odd. Right. And this is where, we weren't going to talk about this on the show, but I'll give you a little extra sauce for you guys. This is where the real investment close comes in at the end of the call, where like people buying from marketers expect so often to be sold a roses and daisies and rainbows approach. Like everything works. It works every time. The other companies are bad and we're really good. And we have this guarantee and it's really easy and it's not expensive. And that's what they expect. Like every checkbox to be made, like, and they're like trying to suss out like what's true and what's not. And that's just a bad experience. But when you hit them with a real investment close where it's like, look, Sebastian, like I'm really confident that I can help you and support you, but I want you to be clear on something. Like the financial investment is the easy part. Like if I bring you the leads to your firm, but your team doesn't do any of the follow-up, I don't want to get blamed, right, for not being able to get you more cases. And you're going to be upset about it. The real investment is making sure that the leads that we provide, we're getting, clarity on whether or not they became a signed case. We're getting clarity that you're following up within 5 minutes. We're getting clarity that, the team is happy with it. The more that we're on the same page together, working together, the more we can win. My win, Sebastian isn't necessarily getting paid today. Obviously, I'm going to be excited about that. I want you to be a client, but it's not like, oh, Sebastian paid, he's done, do whatever. Let me go find another Sebastian. No, the work starts now. And you have to understand there is work for you too. It's not fully hands off. It's not 100% done for you.
Yeah.
And maybe you haven't heard that before from other people in this space, but this is critically important so you can be successful with us. And by doing that frame, what you are providing to them is a subversion of their expectation, right? So I brought this up a week ago about Game of Thrones, this concept of like, Game of Thrones, the reason why people love the show so much is because of the subversion of expectation. We're not talking about the end of the show, but like the first season, I'm going to spoil it, by the way, for anyone that hasn't watched it, but it was like 12 years ago. So like, give me a break here. Okay. If you remember, the first season of the show was all about Ned Stark. And then the last episode of the first season is Ned Stark getting his head chopped off, which was like one of the most shocking things in television history. Why though? Why did it become such a topic of conversation and trended on Twitter and became like part of the zeitgeist in the United States media, right? Because of a subversion of expectation. People's brains work by shortcutting things. This is called a heuristic. We've spoken about it before, right? We shortcut things. That's how our brains work to be optimized for efficiency. And so having expectations is based upon a shortcut. And so when that thing is subverted to your liking, obviously, to your liking, you are very animated and excited about that. And in the same vein, when it's subverted not to your liking, you're very not animated and very upset about that, meaning you pay a huge dollar amount to go to a trip to Hawaii, only to find out your, hotel room is a piece of crap, right? And you're not happy about that because it subverted your expectation in the wrong way. Talking from first person experience here, but that's the whole point, right? This is the whole concept of how you properly sell by understanding and leveraging urgency, by telling them to make the investment, and by subverting their expectation to understand that this is not roses and daisies. Everything works 100% of the time. I mitigated 100% of the risk. It's the easiest thing ever. There's no work to be done. That doesn't make sense. For pretty much every offer in the industry, there is some required effort on the other end, unless probably you're doing like e-com, which is like a front to back sale. Like you're doing the leads, you're helping them, make the website better and you're helping them sell. But even then they still have to do something, which is fulfill the order. Oh, wow. This is really annoying, Brian. I'm just going to go on.
Your other camera. You're good.
The last comment on that, and Brian and I worked with this guy that worked with a soap company for e-commerce. And I'll never forget this. The craziest thing it's not probably the craziest thing. It's a very hyperbolic thing for me to say, which is very common. But anyways, the craziest thing that ever happened in POD was we worked with a client that worked with a soap company. Okay. He helped this soap company sell this new bar of soap during the holiday season or Black Friday or whatever, some insane number. I don't remember what it was, but it was like five or six figures for soap. Okay. Hundreds of orders. They crushed it. They shared it with us and we were all excited. And then I'll never forget what happened less than a week later. We got a message that said, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. It's a screenshot of an email of the company, the e-commerce company, that said, hey, we forgot to tell you we don't have that product anymore. We have to refund all whatever X orders. And it's like, wow. We did the leads, we did the ads, we got the sales, we made the optimized website, we did the CRO. and you can't even fulfill the fucking order? Oh my God. So even in that scenario, they still have something to do. At the end of the day, there's something required of the end user, right? Like if I give leads to my attorneys, they need to convert those leads to cases and then serve the client. Like that's still a requirement. There's always work to be done. And the more that you sell roses and daisies, the harder it is to sell. So that's the spiel.
Yeah, we're on the same exact wavelength. Because it's funny, that was my additional note that I had for this is you want to express to them what the difficulties will be to get the result, because if they have the expectations all going to happen for them, you're both going to be very, very disappointed.
No doubt, 100%. The last frame I wanted to cover today, pretty simple, was just the why frame. It's the front end of the frame. So we spoke about like urgency throughout the call. We spoke about the closing frame. Now just a front end frame. Pretty simple, easy decision-making lever is just understanding why someone's on the call. Now, we're not going to say, hey, why are you on the call, John? Right? That's not what we're here to do. That's not going to make any sense. We're talking about transitioning their mindset from the money being the most valuable asset to their time being the most valuable asset, and then understanding their urgency, their desired outcome, and also their intention. Will you get all three of them? Probably not. Can you and will you? Sometimes? Sure. The goal is just identifying very simply in 3, 2, 1. Hey, Manuel, I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for it. I want to make sure I leverage this time effectively for you because I'm grateful that you're giving it to me. Obviously, I'm here to help you try to grow your practice and see what I can do to do that. What are you hoping for from this call so I can deliver for you? Why are you giving me this time so I make it worth the time? What you're getting and hoping from that is, well, I'm looking for this result as soon as possible. And I got on here because I saw this ad that you're running. Now, again, a lot of times you'll just have people that are like, I'm just searching, I'm looking around, because they're not intentional. Those people that are unintentional, they won't have urgency to buy something. So your goal in the call is to create or leverage, that urgency based on the things we spoke about. When you do this correctly, though, and you have a really good prospect, they might say something like, hey, Rico, I'm on the call because I saw your ad about reputation management, and we've never been able to make this consistent. I've heard that reputation management is super valuable in terms of like getting more organic business, because I just can't afford all these companies offering me like ads. So I'm just letting you know, like, I'm not here to try to buy like ads. I just want to understand how I can get more reviews and that can make me more money as soon as possible. Great. I mean, you have someone that's extremely clear on what they want, makes your life a lot easier. Does that happen often? No, but you have to ask. So those are the main 3 frames that we wanted to cover today.
I got a bonus too.
Anything, feel free. And that was that.
Nice. I do have a little bit of a bonus for you guys. So to make sure you are listening, you're being good listeners today. Does everyone here know what everyone's favorite word is? I want you just to put it in the chat. Let's see if anyone gets it. This is also from How to Win Friends and Influence People. What is everyone's favorite word? See if you guys know this one. I'm going to just give you a moment to throw it in there. So Sebastian and Dustin are very, very close. Rico, so it's a word. You're all very close. I think you're hitting the nail on the head, though. It is their name. Not just me or I, but it is their name. It is Teresa, it's Danny, it's Wayne, Dustin, Jeff, Veronica. You want to make sure, and this is a small detail, but you are not only repeating their name, not consistently, but making sure you are grabbing back their attention and focusing it back on their name. Using their name throughout sales conversations captures and brings back attention, and it's their favorite word. And if you want to have even a bonus and go even further, this falls into the category of being a good listener. If you can remember their spouse's name, their kid's name, their pet's name, that makes a huge, huge difference when you are doing follow-ups and in retention mode and keeping them as clients, because that shows you actually give a shit and you were actually listening. And that is how you influence people when they believe this person has good intentions. They care about me. They care about Veronica. I'm not going to do the names again, but you guys get it. So use that little bit of a bonus one as well. One of my favorite takeaways from that book is just remember what everyone's favorite word is. It's their name. Leverage that so they know you're paying attention and you give a shit.
I was so confident, Brian, that you were going to say didgeridoo was everyone's favorite word, because
didgeridoo?
Didgeridoo. It's a great word.
Have you ever played a didgeridoo? It's pretty interesting.
I don't even know what a didgeridoo is. I thought it was
it's the Australian like long wooden thing that goes like whoa, 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 whoa.
I thought it was a rain stick. So clearly I don't know what I'm talking about.
Close, but
Sebastian's so funny, bro. I was gonna write onomatopoeia. I just don't know how to spell it. So
I can't spell onomatopoeia.
Exactly why I did. That's so good. Guys, for you all, as a holiday gift, we're just reopening that Black Friday special that we had for those of you that couldn't get it. In case you were unaware, basically what we did was offered our objection handling spreadsheet and our one called close cheat sheet for 97 bucks. There's a couple other SOPs in there as well that you can get access to. But basically what this is just a bunch of Loom videos of me going through the most common objections that you'll get as an agency owner or a coach or a consultant or SaaS business. You can see all of these here. They're really good. And then the one called Close Framework is just a simple breakdown of how to actually, do the frames that we're talking about today. So if anyone wants that, just drop 1cc in the chat. We'll happily send it over to you. No problem. 97 bucks, pretty easy. There won't be any like upsell or anything. Our main product is
Yet. We're building it out. It's coming.
But yeah, anything you guys need from us, we're always here to help you. That's pretty much what we had for today. Brian, anything else?
No, I hope you guys all have an amazing holiday season, regardless of what you are celebrating. I'll leave you with something that has been, I've been sharing with a lot of people recently, has resonated very strongly with me. I saw someone recently make a post online that said, "You don't know it yet, but you're currently living in the good old days." What that means is if you fast forward your life 10, 20, 30 years, whatever, and you're or older, we're gray, we've gone through the rigmarole, the struggles of life, you'll be looking back at these days as the good old days, right? So just live life through that lens and appreciate the time during the holidays. I know there's a million things to worry about and a million things to do, but these are the good old days. So enjoy them, find enjoyment in the process and the practice, not just chasing the outcome, because you're always going to move the goalpost. We were just on the call yesterday with a guy who's running multiple 8-figure businesses. He said he thought he would find peace and satisfaction when he made his first 100K, when he made his first half a mil, when he made his first mil, first 3 mil, 5 mil, 10 mil. It never came. So we need to find out how we can measure our self-worth outside of what our business is doing and find ways to enjoy the process, right? Because if you're thinking you're going to reach some milestone that's going to make you all of a sudden all the things you want to be, probably chasing something that you're never going to ultimately catch. So live in the good old days right now. Enjoy the holidays with your friends and family and loved ones. And know if you're hanging out by yourself that we love you and we're here for you as well.
See y'all, fam.
Adios.